Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
Hi, I'm Chuck Blakeman, and today we're going to talk about the 4 quadrants of marketing and why quadrant 4 is your gold mine. So how do you find customers right now? How are you currently selling? Are you doing networking, cold calling, buying lists for email or direct mail advertising, personal referrals, TV, radio, newspaper, social media, blogging, podcasting, speaking? There's a ton of ways to do marketing, isn't there? I built and owned a couple of marketing support services companies from the ground up. From 1992 to 2006, I worked closely with advertising, branding, and marketing agencies, and I learned a lot during those 14 years that validated the work my acquaintance Art Radke did in the early 2000s. I've continued to morph and twist his ideas around what I now call the 4 quadrants of marketing. These 4 quadrants are in descending order from the types of marketing that take a lot of money and not much time to the marketing that takes more time and not very much money. The upper left quadrant, which costs the most money and the least amount of time, is advertising, or what we've referred to affectionately as the shotgun method. It's for giant corporations, definitely not for you, with rare exceptions. If you get $100,000 or more a year to spend on marketing, you can think about advertising as a possible viable method. But even then, for small businesses, I would see it as an add-on to the much more effective 4th quadrant we will get to later in the podcast, which we call relationship marketing. Advertising just blasts a message out randomly and hopes it hits the right person or company who might actually be interested when they get your ad. That's why we call it shotgun marketing. It does work, but only when you have a lot of money and some patience to build rapport with strangers with low relationship effort. And it's very costly to get that return on investment. McDonald's doesn't talk to anyone in their neighborhood. They just saturate your life with ads. Coca-Cola created more than 1 billion with a B impressions in a recent year with just one ad campaign. With these giants saturating the advertising world, do you really think your $5,000 Google ad expense for just 1 month can compete with that? Your ad is going to get buried every day by these behemoths. I would suggest you not even think about shotgun advertising until you have 6 or 7 figures you can spend for well over a year. And then it still might not be enough to compete with the noise of giant corporations. It seems appealing to small businesses because you just throw money at the market and then wait for your phone to ring. But your noise will never cut through their noise to get you the ROI you hoped for, and your phone isn't going to ring. The second quadrant, the lower left quadrant, is direct marketing. Direct marketing differs from shotgun advertising in that it is more like a rifle. It's much more focused. It uses whatever media can connect you directly to the potential customers, social media, text, email, snail mail, whatever it takes. It's much less expensive than advertising, but still a lot more than the other 2 quadrants we haven't mentioned yet. Like advertising, it is reactive, and it's also fairly low in actual human contact. Small businesses can use this quadrant very successfully, but it could also be an expensive experiment with very little return. And unfortunately, direct marketing on the internet is still the Wild West, with many inexperienced, well-intentioned, but unhelpful marketers for every marketer who might actually bring you a good ROI. If you're hiring an internet marketer, get multiple references and make sure they have a solid track record. The third quadrant, the top right quadrant, is public relations, which can be everything from expensive to actually very profitable while still building a customer base. I knew one guy who wanted to build a website to sign up amateur rugby players for rugby tourism. Bring your spouse to a rugby crazed country for 10 to 14 days. He would have a couple of amateur games set up for them to play with the locals and a couple more to watch at the pro level. We suggested for his public relations campaign that he spend a summer kicking a rugby ball across America with hotel, clothing, equipment, nutrition, and drink endorsements. Had he gone with our suggestion, he could have made a handsome profit on the endorsements while getting on the local news in every town and city he went through. Sometimes PR can also be paid marketing, as in this example. And sometimes PR is just an inexpensive gold mine. A few decades ago, a local dry cleaner in my city started a coat donation drive for people who couldn't afford one. Every year now, they get hundreds of thousands of dollars in free advertising from TV and other media, covering what has rightly become a big charity drive each year. Thousands of people have legitimate warm thoughts every year for this company. It's genius, and it's a very low cost return on investment. So how can you make a splash, turn some heads, do some good, or be weird enough to get the media to cover you? Social media influencers have learned this quadrant well. You can too, and you might even get paid to do it. That takes us to the fourth quadrant that I believe should be the focus of small businesses, which we call simply relationship marketing. This lower right quadrant of marketing is about building relationships one at a time, or better yet, by finding one person who can introduce you to 100 of their best friends. It's very low cost financially, but it will cost you time. A lot of 45-minute cups of coffee a year and lots of texts or phone calls to people you already know, not to strangers. But it is the best way for small businesses, and perhaps the only way for some, to get your first few orders or to break into new markets and grow your business. In a small business, you don't have to build relationships, you get to. It's a lot more fun, especially for the introvert who isn't a fan of big events and prefers a quiet cup of coffee with a friend. It takes time and energy, but not very much money. And which of those do small businesses have more of, time or money? We don't have much of either, but frankly, when starting out, we have more time than we have money. We can't throw enough money at the market to create enough noise, but that's okay. You will discover later that relationships you build early on will stick with you and come back to you in abundance. Investing in people is always worth the time. Relationship marketing is the gold mine for small business owners, and every owner and independent agent I've ever seen focus on this quadrant has built a successful business around it. All four of these quadrants will build relationships, but relationship marketing does it the fastest and the best for small businesses and independent agents. There's a simple maxim that has worked for me again and again. The closer you get to a hug, the more likely you are to sell something. TV is a really long way from a hug. A direct mail piece is a tiny bit closer, but still far away. And a phone call is even closer to a hug. But until you have that giant, noisy advertising budget, sitting in the same room with someone else will always be the best way to get a hug and a client. One of the major lessons of quantum business, quantum means small, is this: the smaller your business is, the more you need to live in the right-hand quadrants, and the more you can beat the giants by simply building relationships in the lower right-hand quadrant. It's something they simply can't afford to do. Starbucks cannot walk the neighborhood, and Joe's Java Shop can own the neighborhood. Don't be fooled. Your $100,000 in advertising will be swallowed whole by the whales. Over and over, research has shown that no matter what business you're in or where it is focused, online or brick and mortar, the overwhelming majority of your future clients will come from people you already know. So why focus on spending so much money to attract strangers? Instead, figure out how to regularly get your friends to bring you a steady stream of potential clients. We've got a lot of podcasts focused on exactly that and helping you get a steady stream of potential clients. This is the cure for the common cold call and a huge reduction in spending. And it's a lot more rewarding, both financially and relationally. Let's get after it.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.